I suppose that what makes people think that they could easily tell when there is something wrong in their marriage, it is what I did too. I always like to think of myself as a guy with great awareness, someone who listened, someone who picked up on even the subtlest of stuff. How my wife Jenna would wave her eyes at me when she was displeased, how her laugh sounded when she really enjoyed something, how her hand always sought to string mine when we would have a drink and watch movies. In life, however, it is not always possible to see the cracks before the lights are shining through them, and in that time it may be too late. Hi, I am Mark. I am 36, and I come out of upstate New York, just a little way out of Albany, in case that counts. I got acquainted with Jenna at college. She was who I was not. Too outward-looking, imposing, fearless, in the pursuit of what she desired. In the beginning, I liked that in her. We had a 10-year-old marriage. We had a girl, Emily, aged 7 just now. We did not always live a perfect life, but we had good life. At least, I believe they were. In retrospection, I do not remember when things began to change. It must have been when I was laid off 2 years ago. Or maybe it was when Jenna had started working with her late shifts and answering calls in the kitchen where she closes the door. Might have been earlier than that. Subtle changes, minute, like nothing until they exploded to everything. But when you are sitting here, listening to my tale, and getting no fireworks or loud voices, I want you to realize this. Betrayal does not always tell you it is happening in a blaze of glory or with shouting. Other times it creeps its way, slowly and silently. And you only realize it when you stay in the ruins, all wondering how the hell you did not notice the signs. It is my story. It is a trust. It is a love. It is things we do to keep our families afloat, and the secrets we keep even to ourselves. It began in a telephone conversation, and was late one Friday afternoon. I had just come home after dropping Emily at the house of a friend. I was lounging on the couch, attempting to decompress. She was in her room, playing with her Barbies, as they argued who was next to go to the dentist. My phone was ringing, and I nearly ignored it. I did not save the number and answered the call because it was on my contact list. It happens by habit, I suppose. It was a woman speaking, in a voice which sounded official. There was what sounded like a question, a definite question, with a possible answer. It was, this may sound foolish, a question to which there should be an answer. There should be. Should there not? A question to which there should be an answer. There should be. There was. A question to which there should be an answer. An answer that there should be. There was. To be given. But plainly, willingly given. Freely given. And the answer was, this may sound foolish. The answer was a question. Yeah, talking. Modex First Ridge Financial, this is Madison. I am calling to follow up your personal loan just to know its processing status. The other documents, you should be getting them delivered at your home address in 3 to 5 business days. Congratulations. I arose to my feet. Sorry, what loan? There was a moment of silence. The personal loan that you sought of $24,000 last month, is this not now a good time? My heart gave me a thud, cold and heavy. I did not seek any loan. Again, another stop, more embarrassed. Oh, I am sorry, sir. May I ask your address and date of birth just to be on the safe side? Because we are talking to the person who we are talking to, right? She tossed my address, our well-known one. My birthday. All correct. Listen, I told him, and I tried to get the fright out of my voice. I want you to send me all you can, every document, email, mail, or whatever. She did so, offering apologies and promising to take it to the next level on her boss. I scarcely heard what she was saying. I simply sat there and stared at the phone thinking, is it some sort of a mistake? Identity theft? I looked over the kitchen where the purse of Jenna was lying on the counter, beside a laptop she never closed. I wished that it should be nothing, some explanation to that, but something which seed sown a doubt, which would be cultivated or not be flattened down, there and then. The deeper I dug, the more I realized, this was not about me. This was concerning Jenna and her decisions, life-hiding moments, and incapability to disclose the truth, even at the most crucial moment. I made an appointment with an attorney. I did not tell Jenna. I told her a work meeting. I kissed Emily and went across town with a folder of evidence. Listening to me, the lawyer, a sharp woman called Karen, did not interrupt anything. Her face was turned to me a long time. Mark, you have to guard yourself, and even your daughter. This is dangerous. She commits fraud, and she is cheating. Get your black mark washed, and you must be prepared to make it jolly. Ugly just wasn't any account of it. The night that I eventually confronted Jenna, there was torrential rain. There were thunder, and Emily slept upstairs. At the dining table, Jenna was sitting and working on her laptop computer. I was sitting facing her with my heart banging hard. I said, "We have to talk." Jenna arrived at home late that night again. She kissed me on the cheek, filled her wine glass, and how was I doing that day? I described to her very gradually the call. She giggled at it. That was no doubt a scam. How many of these types of robocalls do you get on a weekly basis? Yet she said it with a certain air, too familiar, too practiced. I saw her face and waited till some shadow flitted through it, but her weary smile was all. Nonetheless, I would have liked to believe her. I desired to believe that my wife was not lying about it. However, the papers came in 2 days in a large envelope labeled as being confidential. I brought it to the garage, which was the only area where I felt alone in our home now. In the interior, there were piles of papers, signed forms, payment plans, a copy of my driver license, and even a little letter with my so-called signature. It was not my handwriting, but was near about. Close enough a computer would not pick it up. With trembling fingers, I turned the pages. My social security number was there on the application, my work details, my telephone number, and below and beside my forged signature, there was an email address, one which I recognized, one which Jenna used her work stuff. I was on the point of vomiting. I was yearning to shout. All I did was to sit down in the cold garage and look as the truth. My wife had borrowed a loan on my name. One would expect that the next thing I should do is confront her. I would have liked to say that I did, but I did not. But not at once. Perhaps it was the horror, perhaps the fright. I kept wondering something must explain it. Something must make her do that. Something must make her be so crazy and reckless. It should have been another mistake, I wanted to think. What I did instead was, I began to dig. I did see our credit reports, mine and hers. That same night, I spent until 3 a.m. and was scanning down all the charges, all the debt, all the payments. This was when I discovered it. She was deeper in debt than I thought. Credit cards, maxed. A tiny loan of last year. She was shuffling bills, discharging one against another. The following day, I took Emily to school, after which I called in sick at work. I was all day hunting over our bank books. What was Jenna concealing was not a loan, but a mountain of debt. Tens of thousands and tens of thousands of dollars, a large part of which was accumulated during the past 2 years. All day I had it tight in my chest as though I were trying to breathe through a straw. Whenever I could hear Jenna in my head, saying I needn't to worry, that everything is okay, I would just feel hot, bitter anger settling in me. Nevertheless, I did not shout, I made no confrontation, I waited, I desired evidence. I.e. wanted her to confide the truth herself. What is the life together when you cannot trust the person? How do you continue on acting that everything is all right knowing it is a lie? I began to despise myself that I should say nothing, that I should suffer her to get off with it. Yet some of me was frightened at what I should have to hear were I to ask. I would like to say that the loan was not the only thing that Jenna hid. I could say the greatest sickness she committed was money lying. However, as they say, once started lying, a person never lies about just one thing. A couple of days after I had learned of the loan, her phone was ringing in the kitchen, and I was cleaning up the mess. She was taking a shower. It was a bright and bold message on the screen sent by an unknown person called Derek. Work. I did something I was not proud of, but I picked her phone. I read the message. Didn't see you today. Hoping you will be able to go soon. Tonight was great. Jenna and I had divided bills evenly. We had a joint bank account on groceries, rent, and things of Emily, but the rest was individual. And she was always proud her independence, she earned more than me, and she used to tell me a bit that way, in those little posing jokes that are not really jokes. Then I knew bugs. Why she was staying late. Why she was so stressed. Why she snapped at Emily over minor insignificant things and forgot our anniversary the first time in our lives. I was trying to be normal during a week. I kept a close eye on her than ever I did before. She was looking at her phone when she thought that I was not watching. I saw the mail when it was unopened and then vanished away. One day I was lying on my bed, looked into the sky ceiling, and she was sleeping beside me. I would have liked to have given her a shake and asked her questions, but I did not. I only lay there and allowed a cold, gnawing loneliness to sink into my bones. We initiated divorce process. The procedure was cruel. At every step Jenna struggled against me, but the facts were too convincing. I was on the side of the court. I retained the house and had full custody of Emily, and I was credibly reinstated. However, it all did not seem victory. I simply felt defrauded, a loss of the marital relationship I knew yesterday. 2 years has passed. I am not going to say all is fine. On some nights, I still happen to wake up, and I'm in that cold garage again, staring at those papers, and everything in my world is falling apart. I am improving, though. Emily's flourishing. She's fond of her new school, of her new playmates. We are getting nearer than ever. I attend psychological treatment. I cry about what occurred, even when it is painful. Could be that you listen to this, and you have gone through something like this. Perhaps you are in a situation of secrets, betrayal. You perhaps believe you never will get well. She glanced up petulantly. Is it possible to wait? I am on a deadline? No, it can't. She looked at me with an angry eye. What of this? I took out the folder. You know what it is all about. She looked over at the papers. A look of pale came to her face. I even thought that she will deny everything, but instead she didn't even glance at me, only kept her hand trembling over the papers. No, I did not want, she said. Yet thou hast. You have borrowed money against my name. You have signed my name. Years you have been lying to me. She had tears in her eyes, but I did not feel sorry about her. Not anymore. She choked. I am sorry. I felt like I was desperate. The debt was getting beyond control, and I could not have more. You might have put out the word. You might have requested assistance. Nay, you have lied. You cheated. Big eyes looked up at me with terror in them. Talking of what? I passed her the phone along the table. You left your communiques open. In a moment she appeared to be ready to swoon. She plunged her head in her hands and cried. I could do nothing but sit there numb. It was the woman I had known and had been in love with more than 10 years. It was gone, and its place had been taken by a stranger. Once it was past that night, everything went motion swift. Jenna went to live with her sister, at least temporarily. She, Emily, did not know what had happened to make Mommy and Daddy so separated, and I did not want her to know the worst of it. The most difficult decision of my life was made when trying to explain my daughter that her mom was not coming back home. The bank undertook a probe. Upon the prodding of my lawyer, I made a police report. I felt bad that Jenna should not be in jail, yet I could not allow her to ruin my life. All that had been hidden, the loan, the mistress, the deceits, all that went forth. Jenna tried to apologize, tried to win me back, but I did not trust her. Not never, ever, ever again. You will. It is painful and it requires time. Yet you will. In case you liked my story, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel to have more real-life stories like that. I went cold to the blood. I was browsing back through the messages, fingers going numb, reading one message after the other, cutesy jests, small confessions, arrangements of meeting up. My hands shook so that I almost dropped the phone. There ended it. It was at this time that I realized my marriage had ended. Even then I did not challenge her, not at once. I required a way out. I had to save myself and Emily. I began to make copies of screenshots, the writings, the credit reports, the lending documents. I filed copies of our bank statements, scanned a copy and emailed it to myself, and I also printed the statement at work. I opened a checking account without the husband and began to deposit my direct deposit into the account. I would pass sleepless nights every day of the week. I wondered what I had done wrong, what I had overlooked and why Jenna was doing this to me.